Welcome, everyone, to the Event Safety Alliance's Lessons Learned cast. As you may recall, and some of you may not know, that the intent here is to recap with folks who are out in the field during COVID right now, actually producing shows, getting their firsthand perspective on what's working and what's not working, and you know, what things could be improved, not just in the operational circumstances around COVID, but if in fact the event safety reopening guidance was utilized, what worked about that, what needs to be reconsidered in that guidance, and you know, what was the general outcome of the day working under the COVID circumstances. We have with us today Joe Paradise, who I have some history with, a multi-decade veteran lighting designer slash production designer and now slash production manager, and Frodo Haug, who is the chief executive officer, no, just kidding, the chief production manager at the Hard Rock Seminole Casino in
Seminole Hard Rock.
Yeah, go ahead. You tell me.
Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Hard Rock Live, Hollywood, Florida. Yeah, it's a long one, man.
And it's still standing after all these years. I can't tell you how many shows I've done in there.
Actually, we have a brand new building. You haven't done any shows.
Oh my gosh, no kidding.
Oh yeah, 6,500, 125 million building, 6,500 seats, total state of the art. I mean, I would love for you to come down and see all the toys.
I can't wait to see it. Joe, you're doing shows there also, buddy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, rumor has it you guys just produced helped to produce the Univision Music Awards. Is that what it was?
Okay, my Latin is a little bad, but apparently it's a big deal, and it is the Premios Juventud. I'm sorry, I butchered that, I'm sure, but that was the show, and it was broadcast worldwide. So
great.
Anybody who speaks Spanish is fully aware of it.
Yeah, so the premise was an award show, was it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. A music award show.
I'm told it's very similar to like our People's Choice Award, so that's why it matters so much to the fans.
Got it. And that was in your venue, the new venue.
Correct.
Indoor show. Did that show? Did a show have an audience, or was it just?
No, it was a no audience. This was the premise. We did easy 2-3 months of walkthroughs. Dave probably did way more than that. It was a zero audience. All crew had to be COVID tested before the beginning. They had a testing trailer right outside our back door. Everybody got tested at least every 3 days. If anybody came back positive, trace was immediately started. Anybody who was associated with that person, instant 48-hour quarantine for the incubation period, come back to the trailer, get tested. If you're negative, you can go back to work. They were doing 24-hour turnarounds on the tests, which was great.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they had a whole COVID team.
Oh, that's great. So I imagine then there was a COVID compliance-like person inside the venue. Yes,
absolutely, several.
Yeah. Joe, was the house gear principally used, or was it gear coming in from outside as well?
It was, except for the PA, it was all brought in.
Brought in.
The front end was the only thing we used of ours.
Yeah, local vendors that you have a relationship with, or new folks.
Yeah, no, we had relationship with them, and of course Univision has their own set carpenter crew, but yeah, we used our audio console and our PAs, just racks and stacks for the rest of it, and that was it. Everything else.
Wow.
And it took up a good portion of that.
Yeah.
Jim, so this was basically considered a rental from our point of view. We had all been furloughed. Dave Gold, God bless him, was just trying his best to get our team some work, get some money in people's pockets, and to show people this can be done safely. So that was the main goal. All the tab was totally picked up by Univision. So them choosing Four Wall and choosing Firehouse and, you know, choosing their vendors that they would normally do these with was totally up to them. They had access to all of our stuff that we have in there. It was just, it would have taken us longer to move all our lights and have Alex Flores bring his stuff in and hang it. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure.
So, but they still used all of we got 32 line sets up there. They used a bunch of them, hung video walls on them. So it was a pretty good amount of our stuff, but lighting and video walls and their little set stuff, like, you know how they are. They build the stage right there on site. So, you know, that doesn't come in, you know, but I mean, it was all like a normal award show, and they were welcome to use anything of our that they wanted to.
Got it. I'm assuming then was there good coordination between the producing entity and the venue? Or are you guys reviewing COVID policy together and enacting the same COVID policy, or did you see vendors with one, producing entity with another, Univision, and then you guys with another?
The marching orders came down from, and Dave was the one that was involved in all this. Dave, and he brought our ops manager, Robert Alvarez, in because he oversees all the cleaning of the building. And then they had him sit down with our cleaning crew, and then they hired, which they must have gotten approved vendor status, but they hired this, and I don't have the name of the company. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It was a whole team. So these guys, from the minute you accepted the gig, you were told this is how it's going to run, and there are no exceptions.
Was that EIR by any chance?
I don't think so, Jim.
Okay.
I will find out though for sure.
All right, no problem.
I was hoping Dave was going to be here because he should know that he had to pay. He had to pay him. So they came in. We set up a trailer out back, like I said, for the testing. Everybody walking in, they had a little iPad with a program on it, forehead on it, temperature, you know, kind of reading. Checked all bags. There were gloves and masks available. I couldn't even tell you how much hand sanitizer there was. They actually, on the first day, they gave everybody a little welcome COVID package. You had a face mask in there. You had a carry around hand sanitizer, a pair of gloves. What am I missing, Joe? Oh, you actually had a face shield.
Face shield, yeah.
You know, so it was all very, very well done. And Jim, on day 2, somebody who thought they were better than everybody else and just refused to wear their mask, see ya. We don't need you.
Yeah.
Day 3 or 4, I was telling the dancer that she needed to be wearing her mask. You know, she wasn't listening to the COVID guy. I said, look, I'm compromised. You need to put that mask on. I said, they're not playing here. You will be gone. She was gone 5 minutes later because she refused.
Wow.
Nobody was too important.
Yeah. Joe, you started saying they had a zero tolerance policy?
Yeah, that was it. I mean, that was the talk of the day, beginning of every day. You get caught, there is no second chance. You get told once, you get told again, you're out. You don't have a mask. You're not separating like we asked you to. If they weren't working, you know, if they were just hanging out talking, they weren't working, they needed to be apart. Which actually Frodo and I were even told, because we were having a quick conversation, and it just so happened one of the COVID guys was there, and he said, "Hey guys," and it was something we weren't thinking about it. We're just having a quick conversation, you know. But it made you feel safe. I mean, these guys were on top of it. It actually was really impressive.
That's great. That's great. And I think, you know, look, one of the things we're learning and we know for sure is that this is our new routine for now. And like it or not, it's going to take some getting used to. And I think, it's like, you know, not wearing.
It's like harnesses.
Or hard.
It's like harnesses in the 80s, Jim, or the early 90s. That's what I keep telling everybody. Yeah. Nobody wanted to wear them. Everybody stopped wearing them, and you got yelled at, and you couldn't work if you didn't wear it. Now we all wear it. Nobody even thinks twice about it.
That's right. Tell me about the was it local stagehands hired, or was it your house crew? How did they deal with labor?
IMC, Billy Collins' company. They do most of the rock shows down here. We like to use them exclusively, though we're not exclusive. You know, you don't have to. Sure. And like I said, this was a Univision show, so they had the option to use anybody they want. But you know, they have a good relationship with them too.
Do you know whether IMC were included in the COVID planning? Did they get the risk assessments and
absolutely?
So everybody,
no exceptions,
like they were in the loop. Yeah, everybody felt like
no
they were
exceptions.
In the loop.
And then the other thing they had set up was like there were different areas. So depending on what letter or hologram you had on your thing, there were areas, even though you're part of the show, you can't go in that area. Maybe you don't need to be in there. That's where the artists are. Because the way they would bring the artists in, bring them in straight to their dressing rooms, lockdown. till they're ready to rehearse. Bring them
Sure.
down. They're wearing masks. They do 2 run-throughs. Hopefully we got it. Wardrobe, hair, and makeup. Come back, still wearing the mask till they say action, masks off, run through once, 1 through twice, to the cars. See ya.
Great. That's
You
great.
know, it was great.
Tell me about the incoming equipment. Were your providers, was it 4-wall? Did they shop, prep, and sanitize, and then come over with sanitized gear? How did that work?
As far as beforehand, I couldn't really tell you, but we sanitized every chance we got. So like Frodo was saying, we did 2 run-throughs for rehearsals. When they went back up to their dressing rooms, we used a disinfectant fogger on everything. Anywhere there was a group of people, I mean, basically the whole performance area was sanitized. And that happened on a regular schedule, plus every time a rehearsal was done and there was a large group of people anywhere.
Right, so multiple excursions, multiple iterations a day then, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jim, I know you're talking about kind of how when it comes in off of the truck and all that, you know. So yeah, as soon as we come in there, so the first break, break at 2 hours, 2:15 or whatever, sanitization crew is in there, doing everything while we're on break. Lunch, same thing. It's just all day long, the whole building. They're just making rotations going around. Now, when we had artists in the building, we had a team that was dedicated and just sat at the stage. A 2-person team. So that, and I asked them politely to please make them be the same people every day, because you know how it is on the stage. Sure. People get used to it. So they did, and by that time, everybody's used to them being there. No issues whatsoever. It was great. And the other thing I really got to say, Jim, that goes a long, long, long way. This COVID team, and then the deck security that JR brought in, were extremely patient, forgiving, polite, kind. I mean, you know how we get sometimes, especially me, you know, in the heat of the moment, you're trying to get stuff. It's like, dude, I don't care about this fucking match right now. I got to get this up, you know, but they're there to protect us all, and they're there to help us. But their attitudes were key in keeping this flowing smooth.
It's an interesting highlight, Frodo, because it's one of the things that Scott Scoville highlighted in the first episode, and that was, you know, people's tensions. Like, we're all over the map. Every human has a different risk threshold and risk tolerance, right? And some people are putting the mask on, washing their hands religiously, no questions asked. And other people are saying F you to the whole mask idea. And the challenge for us, one of the many challenges for us as we go back into some semblance of work, is it doesn't matter what your risk threshold are. The rules are the rules. And this bravado that we event production people are used to carrying in and bossing people around and, you know, all the rest, it's really got to be parked. Because it's not about being the biggest bull in the china shop anymore. It's about how can we get everybody back to work, and how can we all survive to live and work another day. So to those folks out there who are all poo-pooing the masks and everything, you know, F them. They got to wear the mask or they got to work somewhere else. That's the way it's got to be until somebody cures this thing, I would think, or until we've got a good treatment for it.
Yeah.
Did you see any of that? Were you having any of those types at the event, besides the one that got kicked out, obviously?
No, we had 2 people that I heard of that had gotten kicked out, and all the rest of them were just, okay, we found a positive case. Like one of our riggers came up positive. This is, you know, 2 days before the actual event day. So all of us got quarantined for 48 hours.
Oh, wow.
Jim, Joe and I were not there during the actual event.
Yeah.
And you still got quarantined.
I was directing my guys through FaceTime on the computer for the rigging system, because we haven't been fully trained by Clancy yet. And I'm the only one that, you know, I know a little bit. Joe knows a little bit less than me, and the rest of them know nothing. So that's how we did it to get through it.
Yep.
So can you talk a little bit about what policies and procedures, aside from the obvious, the masks, well, let me go back first, actually, on the sanitation thing. There was at least one rigger in our community, possibly more, who are saying, you may not sanitize around our rigging equipment, period. And there's some fear that the sanitization process disrupts the rigging equipment. Have you seen that? Was any of that true for you?
No.
I don't believe it for a minute. And let me tell you something. We had Kish rigging out there. These guys are so anal retentive. They sent a second COVID team that stayed in the hotel just in case one of their riggers got caught up in it so that they could come take it over. They had no fear.
Yeah.
My brand new, I've got 76 brand new deep 8+ motors up there. I got 32 line sets, 2-ton line sets, more than anybody else in North America. I mean, if this was going to affect the rigging stuff, I would have been a little more concerned. I actually have the labels from the stuff that we used that I can send to you. Now, granted, you're not supposed to put it in your eyes. You probably shouldn't be standing on the stage when they're cleaning it.
Don't drink bleach.
Right, exactly. But if you come back in 5 minutes later, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
yeah. Well, I mean, and it is the necessary evil, one of for this period in time, and we've got to figure out how to be okay with it.
Yep.
So I started to ask, what protocols beyond mask wearing, the routine sanitization were in place. What else did you notice that made it feel like it wasn't a regular work day?
Oh, the temperature checks every time you walked in. Even if you left for 5 minutes, you came back in, you got your temperature checked again.
And did that's interesting because we do hear some folks saying, geez, I'm working out in the desert, it's 112 degrees, and I warm my body temperature up and I come inside, and now I test positive.
Well,
Joe's got a lot of experience.
Yeah, it's hot, and if you're out in the sun, as we are sometimes, so, we had not only somebody monitoring the temperature and the protocols, but we also had our security people there, and they kept an eye on who was coming in and out, and they allowed you to cool down. I mean, it takes 5 minutes, if you stand there at an event, and as long as, if you had a fever, that ain't going to help your body temperature anyway. So you recheck. That's all.
Yeah. So there's a workaround.
Joe figured out he was getting busted every time he went out for a cigarette. Then he figured out if he took the alcohol hand sanitizer and hit his forehead before he went to it, it would help.
That's not a workaround we want to promote, Fred.
No, I know. But I mean, at some point you could say it's ridiculous, but you know what? I don't care. It's like you said, it's what makes you feel safe. And the other thing is even employees who have access to other doors, like myself and Joe, there's plenty of others where there's card readers and stuff, not allowed. I don't care. Everybody comes in through that door.
Well, that's just smart, right? I mean, that's just smart. And that's for the safety of everybody. And that's really how we have to be thinking now. There is no more. I don't think the future has an us and them mentality when it comes to producing shows. The runner, the caterer, the production manager, the star on stage, we all got to be acting, as if we care and are compassionate about each other, and try to really be that way.
Yeah, If you really aren't, just pretend for the day of the show. Pretend it's part of your gig, okay?
Yeah.
Because if you're that harsh.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What would you have done differently? What got in the way? What was did you have an oh shit moment? Oh my gosh, that looks like that's going to be trouble.
No,
Joe?
But
I really don't think so. I didn't see anything that really interrupted the workflow. The only thing that I would probably have changed, not that it's necessarily a work thing, but a COVID thing, is I would probably have had monitors in our break areas. A lot of people go outside and they're going to snack and drink and smoke, and their masks do come off.
Good point.
So I mean, there's several times I went out there and told guys, listen, you're not going to have your mask on. You need to, let's separate a little bit. You don't need.
So that's a good one. Let's dig in on that for a second. So catering was outside.
No, catering, they were fed upstairs, and
talking about smoking,
super socially distanced. But we're talking about our 2-hour breaks.
Right. So
our smoke breaks are coffee breaks.
Right. Wow, you get a 2-hour smoke break and coffee break?
Well, no.
He meant every time.
I do sometimes, depending on what it is.
That's why they all want to work for Joe.
Yeah.
So in the outdoor gathering area, there wasn't a COVID compliance person just trying to keep everybody out.
They were farther away. They were really keeping an eye on the trailer and watching people that were coming in to get tested and the office trailers, but we didn't necessarily have somebody on the other side closer to our dock which I think, I would probably suggest that happen just to keep everybody.
Yeah, it's somebody assigned.
Right.
Yeah.
We did pretty good at reminding each other, but I mean, even me and Joe got caught a couple of times because we're trying to talk about what we're going to do next, or whatever. And somebody's like, "Hey, 6 feet, thanks,"
Yeah.
But
so you started, Frodo, to describe the catering situation. Tell us what that felt like and looked like for a minute.
Okay, so catering was really, really different. All right, so they would have separate areas depending on where you were working as to where you would go pick up your food. Food was all prepared and everything was sealed. The bags of chips, whatever.
No buffet line.
Not a buffet line that you would go pick from. There were options, like maybe there was a big pan of rice and a big pan of beans or something one day. So there were options, but you didn't touch it. You just told them what you wanted. They put it in the thing. At the end of the thing, you get it. At the end of the line, you get it, with your drink and everything. And then, I went up there and ate. Most of the time, I don't go up there and eat because I got stuff to do before we get back. I did go up there and eat one time. I sat with one stagehand at a 6-foot table. She sat at one end. I sat at the other end. So they really had this set up great. I mean, Jim, whoever's got a bunch of old drum baffles around can make a fortune by converting these things into these little enclosures. Every desk, every office setup, every person was in their own enclosure on tables. I mean, I don't know how the hell you would ever do this in a live situation because they used every concourse, everything to pull this off. But I thought it was fantastic. The only thing I could say that would make this better would be and I haven't actually seen these working yet, but I've heard about them. They got these walk-through tents like that. I think they have them at some of the airports in the custom areas where you walk through and get sanitized as you come through. Or maybe there's a UV light that does it, but I don't know how strong that would have to be to do it that quick.
Yeah. So the science is kind of out on that. The virus lives inside people, and then there's the whole privacy component because there are people manufacturing things like that are also facial recognition for tracking, and in some countries that will work. What those machines fail to address, just like the temperature check, is somebody who's asymptomatic, number one, and number two, the virus lives inside you. So being sanitized on the outside is to some extent minimally helpful, I would imagine. But the reality is the separation, the masks, and the cleaning the high touch areas, that's really the first line of defense.
Absolutely. My point was, even if you make it a Mr. tent and put, some lights or anything in it, I think it is going to make people's perception feel safer, especially when you start getting into the point of having to bring an audience in.
Sure. Well, that's the component we haven't tackled yet, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just, I consider every time we get together and talk, no matter what condition it is, we're all just trying to come up with how we are going to make this work for all of us to get back to work.
No question
safely.
about it. And it's not like I'm certainly not poo-pooing the idea. I think we've seen some cases of folks attempting those sorts of things, and I don't know how much science we've got to say that's a really good solution. The perception of safety is important to an extent, but it's nowhere near as important as actually having your venue not turn up as a hot spot for a COVID outbreak, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing you're trying to avoid. And we as an industry, we can't afford to do any more harm at the moment. We're still struggling to get heard. We're still struggling to get recognized. We need that PUA like nobody else's business. And because our answer is not as simple as go get another job. It's we don't have translatable skills to some extent.
I've been sending your Philly speech to my representative, so I definitely can't word it any better than you, Mr. Wordsmith.
Well, thanks, Frodo.
And there's a big movement out there for you to start running too, buddy. I'll let you know that.
I appreciate that. We'll see what time brings.
Right.
So let's transition over to the Event Safety Alliance reopening guidance. I mean, I know we talked about it in the pre-call. That the team from the producing entity came in kind of prepared with their own understanding of what they were going to do. you guys are familiar with it. You applied it as best you could, I imagine. Yeah, and tell us how and if that came into play at all.
Like I said, because it was a rental, it was difficult for us to push any agenda. And I think they felt they had a really good handle on it. But I'll tell you, Jim, I had our guide with that guide sitting on top of it right by my station the entire gig. Anybody that wanted to was welcome to come along and start flipping through pages. I don't care if you're a stagehand. I don't care if you're pushing a broom. I don't care if you're the LD or the designer. Come on over, have a look. So
go ahead. Sorry, Frodo.
I was just saying, so hopefully some of it sunk in. Like I said, being a rental, we couldn't really push the issue. Now, I will say this. If you had any suggestions they hadn't thought of, they were more than open to listen.
Yeah.
But they pretty much had it down and probably knew better than we did for most part. Do
you feel that the venue was in a place? I mean, I get that there's a certain level of desperation to get people moving and get money generated and all that stuff. I respect the hell out of that. But do you feel that the venue was in any place to say, hey, as a minimum standard, we've got to be doing what the CDC and the WHO and the Event Safety Alliance are doing?
First of all, the venue absolutely has that right. Not only the right, but I feel the responsibility and the obligation to enforce some kind of minimum standards. Now, that being said, fortunately, the people that we work for totally get this. The Seminole Tribe of Florida and Seminole Gaming and Hard Rock, they get all this. You don't have to argue with people about this. As a matter of fact, I don't even think they really wanted to do the gig. I think Dave Gold, our Vice President of Entertainment, is the one who talked them into it to get us a little work and get some money in our pockets. Because to them, it's not like they could sell tickets. They weren't going to make a whole bunch of money off of it, So to them, it was probably more of a risk, because if something had gone wrong, they certainly didn't need that PR. You know what I mean?
But, I think, listen, I applaud Dave Gold and I applaud the tribe because we've got to be trying. We've got to be trying smartly. If we just sit back and wait, we may not find an interim solution that gets some people back to work. And, as long as we're not haphazardly going after it, as long as we're agreeing that, look, we should at least follow some guidance so that if, God forbid, we got to go to a court of law, we can say, hey, we did what was suggested here. We did what was reasonable to prevent difficulty, to prevent a COVID outbreak. And I think that's why we got that guidance out as fast as we did, because we wanted to
quick.
Arm anybody that we possibly could who was going to give it a try to at least not do any further harm, right?
Yeah. Dude, you had that out in less than 2 months.
Steve Adelman and Jacob Warwick had that out in less than 2 months. And I worked and managed a working group of 300 people. Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's crazy fast.
So I think, listen, congratulations on getting through a gig. And applause to David Gold and to the tribe for letting it happen, and for Univision for letting it happen, and being concerned enough about not doing any further harm to do it right. And so now, what will you do next? Is there another thing on the table? Has this spawned?
I know Dave's trying to work on some other stuff. It's just it's really tough. If there's not a way where you can stream something that you can actually charge people for, I'm not sure how it is. I mean, I've heard of a couple of event producers and promoters and stuff that say, well, I want to do a show and stream it just to keep my name out there. I don't even care if I charge any money. I got to keep my name out there in people's minds. So, if we can work on that and make that safe. I know one of them was supposed to happen, but 2 of the artists are positive now, so we're going to wait a few weeks.
That was supposed to be happening today, I believe we were.
Yeah.
So,
Joe, what kind of long-term? Sorry, go ahead, Frodo.
That's the other thing. Anybody putting up money is going to be scared crazy. What if this happens? Who's going to insure me? Who's going to guarantee I don't lose my money?
Yeah. Joe, what, if anything, are you doing in the interim now? Are you trying to blaze new trails?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I'm keeping my ears open and talking to people, but I have some friends who are working. They have projects, but it's very limited. Very limited. I mean, if you're working right now, you're lucky. you know.
And Frodo, I'm assuming you're keeping the lights on at the very least, so that the doors can open. Gosh willing, something happens, right?
No, that I get called in occasionally. That's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, Jim, not for nothing, but I got a feeling we've been furloughed for way too long. But pretty soon, at some point, it doesn't make sense to keep people on payroll and pay all that administrative fees and all that when you're pretty sure nothing's going to happen for a year. You know what I mean? I just don't see it. I fully expect to be getting I'm really sorry. You're totally eligible for rehire. We hope you'll be available when something comes back. I fully expect that to happen before the end of the year. I'm already got my feelers out,
Yeah. Well, I fear, and I try to always be the optimist in all of this, but I do fear that we're here a lot longer than people are thinking, and that unless we can get the government to act on the PUA and maybe the restart program and things like that, it's going to be really hard for the furloughs to extend. You can't blame the employers at this point.
No,
they've got it.
They got to.
Yeah,
they got to
do what they got to do at this point. And I know,
like I said, they've taken such good care of us for so long since March. How could I be mad at them, man? They didn't have to do any of this.
That's right. That's right. Well, anything else, guys? Anything else that smacks you in the face that you think we got to get out there?
The only thing I wish somehow is that I could get more attention to this, so that this happens, so that people come back and say, yep, this worked great, this worked great, this worked great. If I had my druthers or I had unlimited funding, I would have done this and this, but I don't have unlimited funding. So, just so all the information is kind of in one place, like you say, and people can go there and get it, find out what worked, what doesn't, and we're just not haphazardly trying to do what's best for our little corner of the world,
Yeah. Well, that's a shout out to anybody who might be in the audience to say, if you're doing shows and you want to tell a story, so we, especially if you've stepped in a minefield that you navigated, come share that with us so that our brothers and sisters don't step in the same minefield.
Yeah.
Yes, please don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. If you don't learn anything from doing it right,
That's right.
You learn by making mistakes. And that's how you learn, so that you can do it right and teach others. Right. Sorry, Joe, what were you going to say?
It's just like the whole industry. I mean, there's no school for what we do. I mean, there are, but most of us learn by people passing it on. So people need to share their experiences, what worked, what didn't. That's the only way that we're going to make this work. Get some standards and have everybody share.
Well, I'm happy to share with you that we're attempting to tick both of those boxes. And should you guys have any friends or colleagues that might have a story to tell that's something else that they're trying down there, let's get it out. Let's make sure everybody's talking and everybody has a chance to learn.
If our friend George Pearlie pulls off what he's talking about, we'll definitely be in touch then, because this could be a game changer.
I think Pearlie's the man for the job. No question about it.
You know it.
Hey, guys, I'm so grateful for you and the fact that you're out there. Paradise, it's only been 120 years since we've seen each other. Let's catch up in 60 years this time, shall we?
I'll have to drag him to a summit with me someday.
Yeah, Frodo, I can't thank you enough for being always being there for Event Safety Alliance and trying to help us see the things that we don't see and get the good word out that we're trying to do the best thing we can on behalf of the industry. It's a volunteer gig for all of us. So
yeah, I'm just happy to be part of it, Jim. That's all.
Man, we're happy to have you, Joe. And I'll count on you the next time we do one, buddy.
All right.
All right. Hey, thank you, guys. Thanks so much. Stay safe and give us a ring if something else comes up.
All right, you got it, Joe.
Absolutely.
All right, pal.
Miss you, man.
See you.
Stay safe.
Peace. Bye-bye.